Dennis Boswell. I'm going to be discussing the school ministry, and you should have received a little document that looks like this. It has our logo at the top, and you can be looking over that. But before we do any more with discussing it, I need to give you some history on the school ministry. You're probably familiar with the time that Pastor Greg came to the church and said we're going to be collecting supplies for St. Matthew's Elementary School. I was hit with that at the same time you were. That's the first time I ever heard that. What I found out was that back earlier in the summer, Greg had gone to St. Matthew's Elementary School with laid on his heart the desire to create a partnership with a local elementary school. Talked with the principal there, asked her how we could help, and out of that conversation came a couple things he decided to do. Come back and ask our congregation to collect student supplies and contributions to be used to buy boxes of additional copy paper for teachers. If you've never been involved in education, copy paper is like gold. You just can't get enough of it, and everybody hoards it and hides it and keeps it under lock and key. So that was the plan. When Greg introduced the idea of a school partnership in August, he had set up an agreement that we would make those collections and take them to the school by the time the school year started, and this was in the summer of 2012. He also had, I discovered sometime later, had gone and contacted a number of businesses in the community, including Pearson's Funeral Home, a local orthodontist, and a couple other businesses, and asked them for cash support to support a program that you've heard called Bountiful Backpacks. The name has since been changed to Blessings in a Backpack, but it is supported and implemented by Dare to Care, but they have a fee for that. And what it does, it provides meals for students who are even less able to provide food than those students who receive free and reduced lunches at school. And these folks are vetted by a local social work group. So those students were identified at the school, and they started receiving that. This was all at the beginning of the 2012 school year. Well, sometime after that, Greg asked me if I would consider taking the leadership for that ministry that he had created out of his hands and see if I could make it grow. And after some consideration, I told him that I would see what I could do with it. So I asked him if he could go to the school or set up a meeting with me with the principal. So he and I went to meet the principal. We talked, introduced her as myself to her as the person who would be taking on the ministry from that point forward, and asked her what else we could do. Well, she didn't have a whole lot of ideas. So I said, can I meet with Dennis Boswell, meet with representatives of the staff? She said, yeah, I have a leadership team, you can meet with those. So we did that about a month later. And after about an hour and a half discussion with those teachers who came very well prepared with notes from the members of the little team that they represented of things that they wanted, we coalesced all of their needs down to two things. They would like to have people come help them work with students who were having difficulties with the academic things in the classroom. Secondly, they would love to have someone to help them with clerical things. So I told them, I'll see what I can do. I don't know what we can do. So following that, I learned that we had given the teachers one case of paper, and it occurred to me that one case of paper lasts about maybe 3 weeks, Bobby, if you're lucky. So I met with the whole faculty the following January. This would be January 2013. Shared with them the conclusions of the leadership team, asked them if they had other ideas beyond those two that we could pursue. They said, go do those and you will have done a great deal. So, and I also gave, we had very little money anywhere at that time. So I bought each of them a half a case of copy paper and had a big stack of it on the top of the bookcase in the library with a big bow that I put on each stack. So each teacher got a stack. So at that point, for that school year, that was everything we did. That was the school ministry in the school year 2012-2013. Later that spring, it occurred to me that this was bigger than me and I needed help. So I went out and, in fact, I targeted, before I talked to anybody, 6 individuals that I thought would play a special role. One was Bobby Wood, retired elementary teacher, cook, chef extraordinaire who had already provided at the beginning of the 2012 school year with her team of chefs a meal for the staff back in August of 2012 year. So Bobby was one of those members I sought out. By the way, everyone I asked, everyone said yes the first time. I also asked Cynthia Pace, who, you know Cynthia and her family here in the church. She had a son who at that time was a second grader, so I thought that would be good to have someone there. Stephanie David, you know her and her family. Stephanie had 2 daughters attending St. Matthew's Elementary at the time, and she was also president of PTA. So those seemed to be like Bible people. Then I sought out other people that I knew to be movers and shakers and people that make things happen. One of them was Nancy Beck, another one was Tom Logue, and another one was Emily Thompson. And those have been our leadership team that kind of helped guide things together. So we got together in the spring of 2013 and brainstormed what we could do to try to address the 2 things that the staff said they needed. Well, that team went to work. I went on a cruise to the Adriatic. When I got back, they had invited the whole congregation to come and serve as either tutors, a name that they came up with, or classroom helpers, a name that they came up with. I was in Dubrovnik, Croatia, the cruise ship stopped in Dubrovnik, and I checked my phone and I got a message, which is the only time I had Wi-Fi to get messages. And there's a message from Emily Thompson that said, we gave the plea to the congregation, and afterwards, there are 22 teachers, by the way, 22 teachers in grades K through 5. There are another 8 or 9 teachers in what we call special areas and special education. So we were focusing on the 22 teachers. So we needed 22 tutors, 22 classroom helpers. Emily sent me an email that said, we advertised this to the congregation, and after the worship service, we got 6. I'm in Dubrovnik. And I'm thinking, maybe this thing isn't meant to be. I told them I'd do what I could, but I don't think it's happening. So I thought about that for a while. We got on a cruise ship, we went around, we were in various places, and the further away I sailed from Dubrovnik, the more it occurred to me that this wasn't our ministry that we were creating. This was God's ministry. And if there were supposed to be a tutor and a classroom helper in every classroom, then they'd show up. So I quit worrying about it. At the next port, I sent Emily an email and I said, Emily, we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to keep doing our plan. We'll see what happens. Well, by the first day of school, we had everybody knew what we needed. So in August, we did an orientation for all the volunteers here at the church. Went back and had a staff breakfast with the volunteers this time before the first day of school. Bobby and her team of folks did all that. And this was in August of 2013. And every volunteer, when they showed up at the school, was wearing a black smock. Like, think about what your dentist wears with the little pockets inside. The volunteers don't particularly like my choice of colors and style, but it has a St. Matthew's Baptist Church logo on it. And I guarantee, if you will go to St. Matthew's Elementary School any day, you will see 3 or 4 people walking up and down the halls with those smocks. The intention being that if anybody was a UPS truck driver, a parent coming to see about their sick child, an administrator from the central office, anybody that walks in the building, they see people in those black smocks, and they see that SMBC logo on there. They know that we're doing what we're supposed to do. Well, the thing has expanded. This has been an evolving ministry. It hasn't been the same any 2 years in a row. We are now in our 4th year. And now, 4 years later, we're providing 22 tutors, 22 classroom helpers. We're also providing other people who work in other classes, like the computer classroom, the music classroom. They're not there as the same basis as others, but they're also working in those classrooms. We have a staff and volunteer breakfast to start the school year, to end the school year. We have this year finally expanded to the point where we are, lost my train of thought here. Oh, we have started a prayer thing. If you come on Wednesday nights, you're familiar with this. There's a card on the table asking you to pray for certain people. Every staff member, every church volunteer gets prayed for on Wednesday nights, and again at the Clifton's Pizza Ministry on Thursday morning. And then every person we pray for gets a card in the mail from those people who sign them around the tables, and also from the staff meeting on Tuesdays. This year, we have also evolved to the point where we've refined the model and added to it to the point where we have sent out invitations to every student, every staff member to come to the trunk or treat. We had several family members from the church who were here for that. They were also invited to come to the Christmas Connection concert. They also were invited, each teacher was invited to come to the Christmas dinner, and we partnered with the school to ask the student council to create a process where they collected gifts for Jesus for the Christmas dinner. And they brought like 4 boxes, is what I'm told, of toiletries that went to St. Man as part of our Christmas dinner. Received an email this week, and the folks at the school are focusing on friendship during the month of February, and all the students are coming together and they're making a big friendship wreath, and they want to present it to us. That's going to be presented at the March staff meeting. So there are more and more ways that not only our volunteers are working over there, but they are finding ways to come back and be a part of what we're doing. So those are just some things, and you can see the sheet that I passed out that I've titled Annual Report. That is an article that appears in the summer in the Dove that I put out each year just to kind of summarize what we've done. So, what's the purpose of our ministry? This year I've started doing a email version of a volunteer update, and the first thing on the volunteer update, those of you who are involved will know this, it says our purpose and our mission at St. Matthew's Elementary School is to help students achieve and also to demonstrate the love of Jesus. So that's our purpose. So who are the number of people we're reaching? We think there are about 70 members from St. Matthew's Baptist Church who are actively involved weekly with this. But then we have Bobby's team of chefs. We have people who come and sort supplies and organize them and deliver them. We have additional people that go over for Terry's summer missions on Wednesdays and work at the school. We had the Discipleship Now went over and did some work at the campus this past fall. So I'm guessing we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 125 people who somehow do something at St. Matthew's, maybe not on a weekly basis, but on some basis. Funding. It's my understanding, I've never been able to get this identified specifically, but I think that there's $2,000 in the line item budget here to staff that goes toward this ministry. In addition to that, we receive about $1,000 each year from cash contributions that people donate for the purpose of buying paper for the staff and supplies. By the way, I don't know if I specified this, but at the beginning of each semester, each teacher gets a case of paper, and we give the school a bunch of supplies. The supplies that are collected in the summer, those all go at the beginning of the first semester, put in backpacks, ready for a child who needs them. Then, just this past semester, which was last week, another case of paper appeared for the teachers, and we ordered a whole inventory of supplies for students who don't have any more supplies or who come to school after the supplies were given out in the fall, so now they can receive supplies as well. So it's about, between the line item budget and the contributions, we operate on a budget of about $3,000. Oh, one other thing that we're doing this year that we hadn't done before. With the help of David and our involvement with Chick-fil-A through the Bob Downs Golf Tournament, I invited Chick-fil-A to partner with us and St. Matthew's Elementary School this year, and they provided a free lunch to the staff on Parent-Teacher Conference Day back in October. And we're coordinating with them to do the same thing in February. So I think that's it. That's everything we're supposed to cover, I believe. Any questions? What do we need? Less money than volunteers. People.